Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entities have now been removed by your my mind is now perfectly entering into them. Purport. The science of Krishna, or the science of God and the living entities, is so subtle that even a personality like Vidura has to consult persons like the sage Maitreya. Doubts about the eternal relationship of the Lord and the living entity are created by mental speculators in different ways. But the conclusive fact is that the relationship of God and the living entity is one of the predominator and the predominated. The Lord is the eternal predominator, and the living entities are eternally predominated. Real knowledge of this relationship entails reviving the lost consciousness to this standard. And the process for such revival is devotional service to the Lord. By clearly understanding from authorities like the sage Maitreya, one can become situated in real knowledge, and the disturbed mind can thus be fixed on the progressive path. Sanchinna Samshaya, my doubts, Samshaya, have been Sanchinna, completely cut off. This is the benefit of hearing from a self-realized soul, from a pure devotee of the Lord. Sanchinna Samshaya, my doubts have been destroyed. Tava Suptasina Vipo, you're powerful people, you're my Lord. And Sukta Asina, your words act like a sword, like a weapon to smack, to cut apart all of my doubts, which Srila Prabhupada says come from mental speculation, from mental speculation. And I was thinking, in the purport, the doubts are created by mental speculators in different ways, and we can think that, well, that means Darwin and so many other mental speculators. But another understanding, it means us. Our own minds are busy speculating, concocting. What is that? Prasanta Nishesha Manoratantu. King Kulashekar is praying, when will my mind stop running and running and running? Manoratain asati dhavato vihi. When will my mind stop this business of creative speculation about sense enjoyment or oneness with the Supreme or whatever it is, whatever we're cooking up? When will the mind be prashanta, peaceful? So here, it's Vidura expresses that, yes, now my mind has become peaceful, it's become freed from these concoctions of mental speculation or these doubts. What about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? You're supposed to be quiet. So these doubts have now been destroyed. Upayatrapi Padavan. The doubts about the living entity and doubts about the Lord. Yes. And manome sampatavati. Now my mind is entering into your words, entering into these understandings. Guru Mukha Padma Bhakya Chitete Kuriyakya. In this way. Saraswati says, Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj said, we should accept that everyone else is an advanced devotee except me. I am the most fallen out of all jivas. Yes. Yes. We're reluctant. We don't like the idea of accepting someone more advanced. We like to think that we're intelligent, we're advanced, we're discriminating, we're smart, we're critical, we have sharp critical intelligence. But these can run away with us so that we fail to appreciate pure devotees. So better to appreciate all the devotees. And yes, better to appreciate all the devotees and think that everyone else is more advanced. Only I'm falling. Vijay Krishna says, why is it that for me to become situated in real knowledge and have my disturbed mind fixed on the progressive path, I do need to serve the spiritual authority as a menial servant? One thing is, when we serve the spiritual master becomes pleased. It's not a free lunch. There's some reciprocation there. We please the spiritual master, and then the spiritual master sees, yes, this person is sincere. Upadekshanti te gyanam. So let me give him knowledge. And another reason is because servants is what we are. If we're unwilling to serve, how are we going to advance? That I'll take knowledge, but I'm not going to serve. I'm not going to serve. So the Gyanis are in that position. I'll seek knowledge. I'll cultivate knowledge. I'll be a sincere pursuer of knowledge, but not to serve. Maybe to become one with the absolute, maybe to become free from illusion, maybe to rise to the higher plane of transcendence, but not to serve. Now that's the disease of the living entity. We're averse to service. And therefore, one gets trapped by the illusion of absolute identity with the Supreme. That one goes on discriminating between matter and spirit. One understands one's real identity is spirit, but one doesn't want to serve. And therefore one thinks, yes, that Supreme and I are identical. In this way, again, one becomes ensnared by Maya. So to be properly situated in true understanding, bhaktya mama vijayanati, one has to take up the path of bhakti. That means service. Saraswati says, you have to admire the power of Maya to prepare custom-made, unique traps and attractions to lure you away from bhakti. Yes, we respect the transcendental power of Krishna's Maya, Mama Maya Durataya. And Haridas quotes 10:1354 purport. The Supreme Lord is not obtained by expert explanations, by vast intelligence, or even by much hearing. He is obtained only by one whom he himself chooses. To such a person, he manifests his own form. The service attitude is not mentioned here as ineffective. Would it be reasonable to say that it is that trait that might inspire Krishna to choose us? Yes, he's attracted by devotional service. Nayamatma pravachanena labhyo namedhaya na bhavana shutena. By these other means, he can't be understood. But when he reveals himself, and he reveals himself, Vedeshu Durlabha by devotional service. Yes, quite to the point. Thank you, Radiance. Tulsi Priya.
Hi, Krishna Maharaj. Please accept my obeisances. Saraswati Mataji's comment about in reference to Gaur Govinda Maharaj said about feeling oneself to be the most fallen reminds me of something that I read where a devotee said to Prabhupada, I am the most fallen, and Prabhupada said, you're not the most anything.
Yes, he told that to Chatsuri.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. I just thought that was funny. Because that's sorry, go ahead.
No.
You one time referenced it was a satire that a friend of mine had actually written about devotees getting into a bloodbath of a fighting over who was the most fallen.
Yes.
Dr. Eric. So yeah, it can be a form of false ego to think, to put on the humility if you're not really feeling. I think to myself sometimes, I could say I'm the most fallen out of anyone I know, but I can't say I'm the most fallen of everyone because I don't know everyone. But
you have that feeling that I'm a fallen soul.
Sure.
Amanitva, Adambitva, Ahimsa, Kshantirarjava. In the various items of knowledge described by the Lord, that must be 13th chapter. The first item is Amanitva, not to be puffed up, to be humble and respectful. Amanitva, Adambitva. Those who are arrogant and puffed up by their learning or by their erudition or by their high birth or by their what have you, will have a difficult time. In the Bible, the meek will inherit the earth. So, Amanina Amanadena Kirtanina. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Sadvetad vyashitam vidvan natmamayayanam hadehe abhajyapartam nirmulam vishvamulam nayadvahihi. O learned sages, O learned sage, your explanations are very good, as they should be. Disturbances to the conditioned soul have no other basis than the movement of the external energy of the Lord. Purport. A living entity's unlawful desire to become one with the Lord in every respect is the root cause of the entire material manifestation. For otherwise, the Lord has no need to create such a manifestation even for his pastimes. It's quite impressive here that not only is the path of oneness a mistake or a snare of Maya, but here Srila Prabhupada identifies it as the cause of material existence, this desire to become one with the Lord in every respect, identical with the Lord, to become essentially God is the basic principle of material existence. Ichcha dvesha samutena randva mohena parata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. This envy and material ambition are the root cause of material existence. The condition Murari Gupta says, we know Krishna is our well-wisher. Is Maya also? Yes, ultimately so. When the living entity surpasses the influence of Maya, Maya also becomes pleased. The Maya is meant to test the living entity, to imprison the living entity. But when the living entity gains freedom, then even Maya becomes pleased, as the jail superintendent becomes pleased when the inmate gains release from the prison. Not when he tries to break out, then that's a different thing. The living entities try to break out of material existence by their own power. They try suicide, and Maya makes them a ghost. They try to become one with the Lord, and they become bewildered by false ego. They try to enjoy sense gratification, and Maya just tears them apart. So, but when they surrender to Krishna, Mamaviye prapadyante, then Maya becomes pleased. Everyone becomes pleased. Yes. The conditioned soul, under the spell of the external energy of the Lord, falsely suffers many unfortunate incidents in material life. The falsely suffers, one understanding is he didn't need to suffer, but by acting wrongly, he suffers. And another meaning is falsely suffers, like the man seeing his head cut off in a dream. The suffering has no substantial meaning, or like the suffering of a child having a nightmare. The suffering has no substantial meaning, but one falsely suffers by being under the spell of the external energy of the Lord. The Lord is the predominator of the external energy, Maya, whereas the living entity is predominated by the same Maya under the material condition. The false attempt of the living entity to occupy the predominating post of the Lord is the cause of his material bondage. And the conditioned soul's attempt to become one with the Lord is the last snare of Maya. So here's, again, is this explanation, a little water to them, of what it means to be, that we want to become God. I remember hearing this. Can I have a little water? I remember hearing this in the early days, that living entity we want to become God. Our disease is that, and sometimes I would think, that doesn't sound right. I don't really want to become God. I never wanted to be God. So how is that? But here, the living entity wants to occupy the predominating post of the Lord. God is the predominator. He's the owner, he's the controller, he's the enjoyer. And the living entity wants that post, wants that same set of privileges, wants that same constitutional position that belongs to the Lord. I want to enjoy, I want to own, I want to control, I want to predominate, to be the man on top, to control, to enjoy. That's not my nature. My nature is to be predominated, to be controlled, to serve, to give enjoyment. That's to cooperate. That's my actual position. But we're averse to that. It's not that we necessarily have the formal, that we formally declare, I am God. Although some people foolishly do go that far. But more modestly, we want to enjoy, we want to control, we want to own, we want to, yes, predominate, at least in our own little sphere. We want a kingdom, or we want an office, we want a post of some sort, we want some sort of authority. We want to enjoy. Therefore, I think they may have changed, but for years and years, Coca-Cola, their slogan was enjoy. Enjoy Coca-Cola. Enjoy, enjoy. So this is the mentality, let me enjoy. And when we can't enjoy, then we want to become one with the Lord by giving up the material things. These are all Maya. These are all Maya. And then we want to become one with God. In this way, we become ensnared by the last trap of life. Shara says, Nike, just do it. Yeah, just enjoy. Just go for it. Just enjoy your whatever it is. Yes. And Vijay Krishna says, if the recommendation is for me to enjoy, to avoid trying to become God, what to do with my infinitesimal capacity for being in charge? What to do with my infinitesimal? Yes, engage that in Krishna service, take charge of something, but with the understanding that I'm not actually in charge. Brahma takes charge of the whole creation. But he's concerned about being puffed up. And Krishna instructs him that you, in essence, think that you're doing this on my behalf or by my power. So yes. Ananta Shesh says, no one leaves this world with an enjoyed look on their face. No one leaves this world with an enjoyed look on their face. I remember a very close cousin passed away some months ago, and he was on his deathbed. He couldn't speak. Mostly he was lying back, but sometimes he would sort of start up, and this is typical of persons on the verge of death, that they may be sort of just out of it, but then they may get a certain surge of energy. So he would sort of start up and stare a little bit, and it was almost like try to take charge. Try to take charge. He was beyond taking charge. Death was taking charge, but he would suddenly sit up and like somehow or other try to get a hold on the situation, or a hold on who knows what. But it was not possible. It was not possible. Tulsi Priya.
Sorry, I forgot to take my hand down.
Okay. But those who leave this world in the consciousness of devotional service, they're fortunate. They leave. That's all right. Everything is up to Krishna. Gurudas says, when talking to a neophyte who has doubts, what kind of doubts are acceptable to have as a devotee? Certainly, we do not doubt the truth of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or that of the spiritual, or that the spiritual master is a pure devotee. But are there so-called acceptable doubts that devotees grapple with? Are there acceptable doubts?
As soon as I wrote that, I knew it sounds like a contradiction in terms, Maharaj.
Yes, it does. It's more like there are big ones and then smaller ones. Or there's, doubts 1, 2, and 3, and then there's still 4, 5, and 6. We hear that, what is that? When one is enlightened by the knowledge by which illusion is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything, as the sun reveals everything in the daytime. I've forgotten the Sanskrit, but that's the translation of Bhagavad Gita. So the doubts are due to ignorance. Doubt probably means ignorance. When I know, then where is the question of doubt? So in the perfect stage, one no longer has doubts. One no longer has doubts. But otherwise, doubts are always acceptable. We have our doubts and we bring them to the spiritual master. This is my doubt. What is that? Twadanyat, samshayasya, like that in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna, Arjuna tells Krishna, no one but you can remove my doubts. So we go to the authority, we go to the spiritual master for having our doubts removed. And it may take some time, we may still doubt this or doubt that. but our goal is to be free from doubt. What is that? Asamshayam samagram mam yata gyasasi tatshrimu. Bhagavad Gita again, Krishna tells Arjuna that I'll speak to Gyanam Teham Savigyanam Idam Bhaksham Shesham. I'll speak to you this knowledge by which all the doubts will be destroyed. Avidya vinasha janta. And for being quotes, Tvam tesham evanukam partam aham agyanajam tamaha nashyam yat pavasya gyana deepena pasvatam. By the light of transcendental knowledge, the doubts of the devotee are fully destroyed. All right, shall we end here? Well, there's two comments that came up. Murari says, I remember having similar thoughts when I read that were envious of Krishna. I didn't mind that Krishna was God, but I should be allowed my own space too. It seemed excessive that Krishna should have everything. Yes. And so Supriya says, doubt is one of the important functions of intelligence. Blind acceptance of something does not give evidence of intelligence. So therefore, samshaya, in order to cultivate intelligence, one should be doubtful in the beginning. But doubting is not very favorable when information is received from the proper source. Bhagavad Gita, samshaya vinashati. All right, shall we have a little kirtan?
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Om God, Paramahansa Prabhupāda Stotram Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Raj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koki Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath, Sham Kund Radha Kundigiri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadip Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Shamana Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for your time. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Gurudev.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you, Panchatattva, Govardhan, Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
And always so nice to see Haridas Prabhu. Hare
Jai.
Krishna.
Maharaj.
Haribo Maharaj, thank you.
Thank you, Gurudas Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you, Tulsi Priya. Hare Krishna.
And thank you for the segments of your kirtan book in the mail.
Yeah, they're really nice.
Yeah, that conversation with about the process is quite.
Yes, that's really good.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jayādvaita Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Govardhan.
Hari Hari Bo.